Okay, so section 6.10, graphing radical functions. First of all, you guys have to know what the standard form of it is. So let me write that for you guys. Okay, so standard form is going to look like this. Y equal to a times the square root of x minus h plus k. All right, that's the standard form. Now the h and the k and the a have specific things that are tied into it. So let's start off with the h. If h looks negative, so in other words, if it says -3, -4, so the h looks negative because there's a minus in the front of it. If it looks negative, we move, anybody remember? Are we going up, down, or left and right if for the thing inside of the function? Anybody remember? It's left and right. So this one would be to the right side. Okay? Move right h times. Remember, we did this with parabolas. We did it with absolute value functions. We did all this stuff that we're about to write down right now. If h looks positive. Now remember, h always lies to you, right? Whatever it tells you it is, it's actually the opposite, right? So if you see like a +3 or a +4 on the h position, that means it's really a negative, okay? But it's going to look positive. If it looks positive, you're going to move left h times. Okay? So a minus on the inside of the function, you go right. A plus makes you go left. Okay? So that's your h portion. Now, the k. So if h makes you go left and right, what does k make me do? Up and down, right? So if k looks negative, move down k times. So if there's a -3 at the very end, then go down 3 times. Okay? If k looks positive, move up k times. Now remember what I told you guys before I started the recording. This is going to look like it's going to be really hard to do because my definition for this is going to be so long. But don't worry about it. It's not hard to do. Okay? It's not hard to do. I just realized for some reason. There we go. Okay. A is called our amplitude. Some people like to call it the stretch. Okay, in other words, it makes the graph either like larger. So instead of it just kind of looking like a normal little graph like this, it might make it go like that. Or sometimes even smaller, like that. That's your amplitude. That's what it does, okay? So the number in the front is our amplitude. If A is positive, okay, so if A is positive, the graph looks like this. So if A is positive, the graph looks like that. Like that's literally the graph right there that we're going to be graphing. The little, kind of like a little branch. That's all. Okay? If A is negative, you get a reflection on the x-axis, so it's going to flip it over. So if A is negative, the graph looks like that. It just flips it upside down. And that's it. That's all you need to know. Okay? Now, HK, we're going to call it our origin. In other words, where it starts. So like in these two little graphs, I can put like a little green dot right there to say like that's the starting point of where I need it to be. Okay, so you can see right there, little dots on the graph. So HK is our origin. So the first thing you should ask yourself is, where is this thing starting from? Where is its origin? Okay, and then once you know that, you can pretty much sketch it immediately. Okay, so let me show you what I'm talking about. All right, so here's the first one. I'm gonna create a graph here for us. That's one. I'm not making this a really big graph. Just I'm going by halves. Okay? Now, look at my function that I have there. Does it have an h? In other words, am I adding or subtracting something to the x value on the inside? Do you guys see anything in there? Yes, no? No, right? There's nothing there. That means h is 0. Do you see a k value? A number on the outside that's adding or subtracting? No. That means k is 0. So my origin is hk, that's 0, 0. Okay? So here we go. 0, 0. I'm going to put a dot right there. Now all you got to do for me, guys, is give me one more point. Okay? One more point. I already got 0, 0, so let me do this. So I already got 0, 0. Notice this thing, if you look at the graphs that I showed you, those little tiny ones, you see how they always go to the right side? Right? It's either going to look like this to the right or going down but to the right. Okay? So I just got to pick a number to the right. So why don't I try x equal to 1? Okay, I'm going to plug in x equal to 1 into my equation. So here we go. Y equal to the square root of 1, which is 1. So my other point is 1, 1. So this is all you have to do, guys, and then you're done. Finished. That's it. Now don't say, well, that was easy, because that's the easy question. Honestly, they're all easy. Okay, they're all just like that. You just got to understand, what is your HK? Most importantly, what is your HK? And then from there, just plug in one other point. Okay? Always to the right of your origin. So if your origin is 0, 0, so x is 0, then pick 1. If your origin value for x is like 5, then try 6, right? Something to the right of it. So you'll see right now that we're doing this. So here we go. Here's my next one. So I'm going to kind of change them a little bit at a time so we can utilize different parts of the definition. So this one I'm not going to go by half. I'm going to go by 1. So that's 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3 here. I'm not going to mark the negative side. I think you guys get the idea, right? It's by ones. All right. So h is always tricky. What's my h value? 2. Good. Not negative 2. Because h is always the opposite of what you see. K is exactly what you see, but h is always the opposite. So it is, you see a minus 2 there, that's what I see, so that means h must be a positive 2. What's my k value? 0. That means that my point is 2, 0. So let me go to 2, 0. I'm going to put a point right there on my graph. And now I just got to pick one more point. Now, let me make a little chart here, x, y. we tried 2, 0. Notice I put 2, 0 because that's the point we found, right? So give me a number to the right of that. 3. All right, so if I try 3, let me plug in a 3. Y equal to the square root of 3 minus 2. That's the square root of 1, which is 1. So I'm going to go to 3, 1. Put a dot there. And draw my line, or my curve. And that's it. You're done. Like I said, these problems look like they're difficult, but they're not bad. Okay, funny enough, for once my daughter's teacher's ahead of us. Usually we're ahead of them, but yesterday's lesson for them was graphing this. And she's like, I didn't get it. I'm like, this is super easy. So I went over it with her and she's like, this is really easy. I'm like, yeah, it's really easy. You just got to know where's your origin and then just plot one more point and that's it. And you're done. She's like, oh, this isn't bad. So hopefully you guys are kind of seeing it. We're going to keep kind of making this a little different every question so you can see just horizontal movement, just vertical, maybe a little bit of both, maybe flipping something over, right? So I think we have 6 examples here. So let's do this next one. I'm making this graph a little bigger on purpose because I noticed there's a +3 at the very end. So I'm going to have to move this thing 3 units. I don't want to say which way yet, but 3 units for sure. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, what's my H value? Say again? -3. That's not my H value. I can see why you think it would be my H value if I did this. Check it out. If it was all inside of the square root, then it's my H. What letter is that? That's K. K is +3. So what's H? 0. We don't see it, right? So do you understand why it's a 0? Right? Do you guys get it? It's a 0 because H has to be inside of the square root. There is no number inside the square root. Therefore, H is 0. The number on the outside is always your K. That one's outside of your square root. So that's why K is 3. So my point is 0, 3. So let me put a point right there. 0, 3. There it is. Okay? So I'm going to make a little table because I got to do a couple of points here. 0, 3. That's one of them. What X value should I pick next? Remember, you want to go to the right of that point that's there. Okay? Thank you.
This is for new students.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. Again, which point should I pick? It has to be to the right of the green dot. So yeah, pick 1, right? Pick an easy number right next to it. So we're going to pick a 1 right there. So plug that into your equation. Y equals square root of 1 plus 3. Well, the square root of 1 is 1, and 1 plus 3 is 4. So 1, 4. There's my point. So I'm just going to draw it. And there you go. We're done. Now, the nice thing about the way your homework is, they're going to give you all the things pre-drawn. You just got to pick the one that looks like the graph, right? So you're going to say, okay, which one has the origin at this point and looks the right way. So you're just going to have to identify it. You're not going to have to draw it, but knowing how to do it is important. All right, so check this one out. Now we have horizontal and vertical movement, okay? So before it was just horizontal or just vertical or none. The very first one we did didn't move anywhere. It stood still. So let me create a graph here. One, 2, 3. All right. So what's my h value? -1. Yep, correct. What's my k value? -2. Thank you. So my point is -1, -2. So I'm going to put that -1, -2 right there. There's my point. -1, -2. Now let me make a chart because you need at least 2 points. Some teachers want up to 5. I don't really need to see that many. 2 is really more than enough. As long as you know what the graph is supposed to look like, 2 points is more than enough. So what x value should I pick? Say again? 0. Yeah, pick the very next number to the right of it. So to the right of -1 is a 0. So let's pick 0. Let's plug it in. Y equals the square root of 0 plus 1 minus 2. Well, 0 plus 1 is 1, so the square root of 1 minus 2, what is that? -1, right? So -1. 0, -1 is right here. So I'm putting the point right there, and then I'm just going to draw it. And there you go. There's that graph. Now that's not as hard as these questions can get. To make them more difficult, which will be the 6th example, I'm going to put a number in front of the square root, but that even doesn't make it that hard. It's just, it requires us to multiply. That's not hard to do, but you'll see it. All right, let's do number 5. Look at question number 4 and number 5. What's the difference? The negative, right? Which means this graph is not going to look like this. Okay? It's going to look like this. All right? It's going to be upside down. All right? That's all the negative does. Everything else that we do will be the same. So don't let it scare you into thinking, oh no, this one has to be more difficult. Not really. Okay? It's just going to change the way the graph looks. You just have to understand that it's just changing the graph by reflecting it on the x-axis. Okay, it's flipping it. Okay, so there you go. There's my chart, not my chart, I'm sorry, my graph, or coordinate plane, shall I say. What's my h for this? -2. What's my k? A +1. So this is going to be -2, 1. Okay. Now, let me put a dot at -2, 1. That's right here. -2, 1 is right there. And now I got to make a little chart here. X, Y, I already know -2, 1. What's to the right of -2? -1, so put that right there, -1, right? Go to the very next one. Some people try to get creative and they're like, oh, I should always use 0 because 0 is going to make it easier. Not really, not always. I always tell people, pick the point right next to it. Usually it's the best one. So if I plug in a -1, here we go. Y equals square root of -1 plus 2 plus 1. So y equals to square root of 1 plus 1. Well, the square root of 1 is 1, so that's going to be -1 plus 1, which is 0. So the point is -1, 0, right there. Right on the x-axis. Now draw your picture, and you're done. So sure, this problem looked different. There was a negative in the front, and sometimes people worry like, whoa, we're changing too much stuff. Like, all it did was change the direction in which it opens. That's all. So what do you guys think? This isn't too bad? All right, I mean, you just got to know your origin. Know your origin, and then from there, pick a point, and you pretty much are done. Okay? Last problem. Question 6. I think you guys do have like 10 questions or something like that on your homework. By the way, I don't think any of these are homework problems. I'm trying to remember what I did this morning, but I really don't think they're homework problems. So I hope you don't hate me, but I mean, honestly, they shouldn't take that long. Okay? So here we go. Let's draw this. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right. All right, what's my H? 0, because there's nothing there. What's my K? -1. Notice I have an A value of 2, okay? It's a positive number, so this is going to open normally, okay? But it is going to amplify my answers a little bit. But don't worry, it's nothing that we really have to like do different. We're going to still do everything the way we normally do. 0, -1 is right here, okay? X, Y, just like we've been doing. 0, -1, that's one of them. What point or what X value should I pick next? A 1, right? Go to the 1. Now let's go ahead and plug that into my equation. So Y equals 2 square root of 1 minus 1. Y equals, well, the square root of 1 is 1. So that's just 2 times 1 minus 1. That equals 1. So 1, 1. Now, I want you guys to notice the points usually were like one step up and one step over, right? One step up, one step over. Look at these graphs right here. So this one actually went one step down and one over, right? But look at this next one. One step up, one step over. The one before that, one step up, one step over, right? Because the amplitude was always just 1. I'm just erasing the arrows. I don't want people get confused later on as to what was going on. But once the amplitude changes, it doesn't do 1 and 1. Sometimes it'll go 2 and 1, 3 and 1, 3 and 2. Okay, the amplitude will change it. So not that you have to really know that. I'm just letting you kind of see something that's kind of interesting about the way the amplitude affects it. All you have to do is find the second point, which we did, and draw your graph. So you don't have to worry about the 1 up, 1 over. And so I'm just letting you know, guys, it's kind of like slope, right? 2 up, 1 over, right? 2 over 1. But not that you have to know that. Just plug it in. You'll be able to find your answer, okay?